Welcome back, mamas. Y'all, today we are going to talk about getting your time back. I know it doesn't sound possible, and truly it's not, but these are ways that you will be able to feel like you've gotten your time back. And that's what we really want, right? That feeling of control over our time. I talked about how saying no is going to help you do this. We're going to get deeper on what I mean by all of this and how you get your time back, okay? And I'm so excited to share what I've learned. So let's get to it. Do you wish you had control of your days, that you had a rhythm, but instead feel overwhelmed, scattered, and like there's never enough time? You're in the right place. I'm Danielle, a recovering workaholic, wife, and stay-at-home mom of 2 girls. I've learned how to reclaim my time and find purpose and freedom so I can be present with my kids and feel like myself again. Here, we embrace where we are, but we don't stay there. So if you're ready to trade the chaos for clarity, the guilt for grace, and the endless to-do list for aligned flow, grab the kiddos a snack and toss in that laundry because I know you're multitasking, and let's do this because your time, your purpose, and you matter. Okay, mamas. So I am so excited to dive into the way that you can reclaim your time, right? The way that we get some of our time back and the way it feels like we get some of our time back because we all have 24 hours in a day, yes. But when we are spinning our wheels, when we are saying yes to all of the things, when we are filling our time with busy, filling our time with things that aren't filling our cup, then we work so much harder. Then we get exhausted. Then we feel like we are so busy, but we are also so burnt out, so overwhelmed, so over it. Right? We don't understand why we aren't happy or why we don't feel fulfilled or why, we have all these questions in our head of why isn't this filling our cup? And the reason is we have not figured out what is important to us. So I'm going to start with a quote. I may start with 2 right off the bat. Okay. So our first quote is by Lao Tzu or Lao Tzu, however you say that. And it is, time is a created thing. To say I don't have time is to say I don't want to. Okay? Time is a created thing, right? Like it is we created it as humans because we needed some sort of structure around like our day, right? Like if we don't have hours or minutes or seconds or days or weeks or months, if we don't have a way to define things, then our brains can't handle that, right? Like we need some sense of control, some sense of normalcy, some schedule, something to hold on to. So it's this created thing, but to say we don't have time is to say we don't want to, right? Sometimes it's not even I don't want to, right? That you're actually saying you don't want to things that are important to you because you're saying yes to all these things that aren't necessarily important to you. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to talk about how we get to the root of that. But I want to follow this up with one more quote right off the bat that says, "You will never find time for anything. If you want time, you must make it." You will never find time for anything. If you want time, you must make it. That's a quote from Charles Buxton. And y'all, it is so true. We need to make time for the things that we want to have time for. And when we realize that we want more for ourselves as moms, but we don't recognize or realize or understand fully how to get that more, what that more even looks like, or what it can look like now. Because if you're anything like me, I was a stay-at-home mom now that had always defined herself by her work. I was a workaholic. I defined myself, my worth, my life by my work. And so now, as a stay-at-home mom, I was defining myself by my motherhood role, right? Like by everything that is wrapped up in motherhood, right? Whether it's like the household chores or, cooking and cleaning and all of those the laundry and all of those type of things, which I have always disliked, right? Like I do not like household chores. I like cooking. I actually do enjoy cooking, but all of the rest of it can be thrown out for me. I am not a fan of any of it, right? And as a mom, as a stay-at-home mom, I felt obligated to do all of those things, right? I now stay at home. I'm not bringing in any money to the household. So I have to contribute in some other way, which in one sense I get, right? Like that makes kind of sense. But when it's something that is draining you, something that is actually taking away from you being able to enjoy your life or you being able to mother the way that you want to, or being able to contribute to your family the way that you want to because you feel consumed by these things in your life, then it becomes a problem. And when I knew I wanted more for myself, that's what I thought was that meant that I was now going to go back to work, right? And I was going to not go back to work because I never, ever, ever wanted to go back to work, and I haven't, but work in some capacity. And I didn't know what that looked like or how I would incorporate that. So I started a business, right? Because that's what you do. I've always been an entrepreneur at heart. And now I found myself wanting to thrive in that, in entrepreneurship. And so I poured myself into that. I poured myself into volunteering, but I was volunteering for things that had always brought me joy or for things that I thought I should be doing. So I was pouring myself into these things that had always brought me joy and had brought me joy in the past, and I thought were going to fulfill me in the future. But the problem was I hadn't decided what I wanted for me. And so one of the things that I want to, and this is going to go back to a lesson that I learned in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, written by Stephen Covey, which was literally, I think I read this book first in high school. Y'all, I know I'm a nerd. It's great. I absolutely love this type of stuff. Self-help, self-development really is what I would call it more, because I want to always be growing and learning. And this book was a game changer for me. And habit number 3 talks about putting first things first. Put first things first. But how can you put first things first when you don't know what those first things are, right? You can't. That's the answer. You cannot. So one of the lessons that Stephen Covey teaches in this book was so impactful for me, and I believe it will be for you too. But he talks about the important things in our lives and the urgent things in our lives. And he breaks it down into 4 quadrants. So things that are urgent, like for instance, a crisis or a pressing problem or a deadline. Like if you have a deadline for something, those are urgent activities, right? And those are important. But then you also have things in your life that are urgent, but they're not necessarily important. And those are things like interruptions, like a phone call, or if somebody interrupts you in another way, like mail that you get, or emails that you get, or social media ads that you go off on a tangent on, like some meetings, right? Like some meetings you don't need to be in. Right? Like there are meetings that sometimes you might think that you need to be a part of that you really don't need to be a part of, right? Like maybe you need to be a part of it. I know that I used to take the time to go to like every single PTA meeting, right? And now they offer it 2020 with Zoom, right? Like now they offer it online as well. And so you can Zoom in, and I will Zoom in and I will be able to cook dinner at the same time that I'm attending a PTA meeting. And I will get the most important information that I need to, but I'm also able to be doing something else and multitasking at the same time, right? Pressing matters that are in front of your face, right? That you may think are more pressing. They are not important, but they seem to be urgent, right? Or some activities that you might do that are, maybe FOMO type of an activity, right? So it seems like it's urgent that you have to get it done, but it's really not that important. But because it's in your face all the time, you all of a sudden feel like it's an important thing that you have to get done, right? Then you have the things that are not urgent, but they're important. These are activities like, doctor's appointments, like your annual checkup or your mammogram or anything like that, that are just things that are important, but they're not urgent, right? You can schedule them out, like relationship building. Like if you have friends that you want to stay up with, like that is something that's important, but it's not urgent. It's something you can schedule, right? New opportunities, things you can plan, recreational things, everything like that, right? Like it is important. You need to do it. You want to do it. It's important to you, but it's not something that is urgent. Then you have not important and also not urgent. So these are things like busy work, things that are just keeping us busy, like, for instance, scrolling social media. Anything on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, all of that is not urgent and it's not important, right? Like that may be a knife to the heart for some of us, right? Like, but it is not urgent and it is not important. But I wonder how much time you are spending scrolling social media. I bet it's more than you would like to admit, right? You've got mail, phone calls, things that are time wasters. Like these are all things that are not urgent and not important, okay? And this is an old book, right? So it needs to be updated. I did some updating myself just there, but when you put things into these four quadrants, these things in the two quadrants of urgent and not important, and also not urgent and not important, those are the things that I bet if you look at things, they are eating up a lot of your time. Y'all, it is eye opening if you are to lay this kind of stuff out. Now, what I'm going to say is we all fall into this trap, right? But when we are able to put first things first, when we are able to take the time to prioritize what is important to us, and sometimes that can seem hard because we don't even necessarily know anymore what's important to us. Like we know our family is important to us, and we know that our friendships are important to us, and we know that, staying up on your health is important. However, when you're looking at what is important to you at this moment in time in your life, sometimes it gets harder because even though our family is important to us, and even though being a mom is super important to us, right now we are feeling like we want more. That there's something else that's important to us as well. And we may not know what that is or what that looks like or how to fill the void that lack of, thing that's not there right now that we want more of. It is not there, and we are trying to fill the void of it with all of these activities that are probably falling into some of these categories that are in the not important category, right? Like some of these activities that we are spending our time in are falling into that not important quadrant. Either one of those two is not where we want to be spending the majority of our time. And what I found for myself is that I was spending a lot of time there. I was spending a lot of time in those two quadrants. And like I said, and I will keep saying, that I had to do a lot of work to figure out what that was for me, what was important, what were the things that I needed to focus on at this point in my life, and how do I achieve that? Like when I figured out what my values were, what my strengths were, because some of those changed. Once I became a mother, some of my values and my priorities changed. And I'm not saying that your values and your priorities, like typically things that are important to you, are always going to be at some level of importance to you. But there has to be a priority there. There has to be a priority. Like there has to be a list. Like it's just like I was talking to my kids about our bucket list. And I don't know if you heard my episode about creating a bucket list for the summer, but we have. And we are going through it, right? And we're looking at all the things that are still on the list. And I was like, girls, you're going to have to prioritize some of these because we've got a lot of items on the list that are still on the list. And so if you want to do some of these things, you're going to have to prioritize them and tell me which ones are the most important to you, because I don't want to get to the end of summer and you guys be like, but mom, we really wanted to do this one. And I didn't know that you really wanted to do that one. And we've done, almost everything on your list, but some of the things that you really wanted to do didn't get done because I didn't know they were a higher priority than the others. And if you haven't taken the time to figure that out for yourself, about things in your own life, then what happens is, even though things were on that bucket list and they got to do them, they were happy in the moment, right? They would have been happy in the moment because it was on the list. It was on the bucket list and we did it, right? But what happens is then you look back and you're like, gosh, but I should have been doing this. But this would have brought me more joy. But if I would have done this, then that would have fulfilled my need and I wouldn't have even had to do this other thing. I'm speaking in possibilities here, but I hope you're getting the point that when you take care of those top priorities, some other things are going to work themselves out. When you are taking care of things that seem urgent or but they're not important. If it's urgent and important and you're taking care of it, like it has to be taken care of. Like, if you listened last week, you know that we had a trip to the ER and you know how that went, right? I had to take care of that right then and there. And it knocked anything that was on my priority list, no matter where it knocked it down, right? Because Michaela and her health became the most important thing, as it should, right? And so there are going to be things that come up that are urgent and important, that have to be taken care of in the moment. There are things though that that are urgent and important that have deadlines that you can work on, right? Those things can be worked on and that doesn't have to be like a fire that you're putting out. It doesn't have to be an emergency that comes up, right? But you want to make sure that all of the things that are on your important list, those get done, right? Or at least that you know where they lie in importance to you so that you're taking care of the most important things. You're putting first things first. I hope that makes sense. I want to read another quote here by Thema Davis. Thema Davis says, say no to distractions so you can say yes to your destiny. Say no to distractions so you can say yes to your destiny. A lot of these things that are not important are distractions. That's what they are. They're taking your focus off of where it should be, off of what would bring you the most joy. They're taking your focus off of the most important things to you. And by doing that, then you are blocking that more, right? You are blocking that more. And so this is the work, y'all, that we do in the Prioritize Your Purpose coaching. This is what we do. We get still, we get clear, we figure out what's important to you and why. We talk about your strengths. We don't just talk about them. Like I have a whole method designed to walk you step by step through figuring this out for yourself so that you can get a direct path to fulfillment, to being happy again, to being able to filter things through this lens of what is important to me. How do I know what to say yes and to say no to? But saying no, as I talked about on Tuesday, is super important. It is so important to be able to do that. I want to read one more quote from Stephen Covey. I have a lot of quotes today, y'all. And this one says, you have to decide what your highest priorities are and have the courage, pleasantly smiling, non-apologetically, to say no to other things. And the way you do that is by having a bigger yes burning inside of you. It's by having a bigger yes burning inside of you. Like I said, this is the work that we do in Prioritize Your Purpose. Saying no allows you to get your time back because you are able to then feel like you have more time because you're doing things that are more important to you, right? And you are able to focus on what truly matters. And that's what we're going to talk about more next week and go deeper on focusing on what truly matters in next week's episode. But I want to end with one last quote here about time, right? And this is from Albert Einstein. And he says, time is really the only capital that any human has, and the only thing he can't afford to lose. The only capital we have is our time, and it's the only thing we can't afford to lose. Like we can afford to lose money, we can afford to lose things, we can afford to lose so much, but we can't afford to lose our time. It is our only true capital, because when we lose it, it's not just losing something, right? It's losing a part of you. When you feel like you aren't spending your time doing anything important, it's so much deeper of a pain than losing money or than losing some object, some, material possession or something like that, right? Like we can get over those kind of things, but when you talk to someone, and I've heard so many times from people who are, let's just say, on their deathbed, or people that interview older people, the one thing that they talk about is that they can't get that time back. It doesn't matter if they're millionaires or if they are poor. It does not matter. They all talk about the time that they wish they had either spent with their family or doing something that they loved or fulfilling some purpose or whatever it was. But it's always about the time. That is what people are always talking about. And so I want to help you get clear on what it is that you want, why you're feeling this unsettled feeling, why you want more for yourself, what that looks like for you, and then how to get it, right? This is what we're doing in the Prioritize Your Purpose coaching. And I am so excited for this work that you can do. You can do it on your own, y'all. I did it on my own, but I am telling you, this process will make it so much easier, so much quicker, and so much clearer. And I promise you, I did a lot of work on it. And so I'm super excited to bring it to you. So check it out. Prioritizewithpurpose.com is my website. Prioritize with Purpose, just like the podcast name, prioritizewithpurpose.com. But I'm calling the coaching Prioritize Your Purpose, because I want that for you. I want you to prioritize your purpose and what it is for you that is going to fulfill you, and to take that overwhelm, to take that mom guilt, to take that self-doubt, to take that burnout, that scattered feeling like you're a hot mess all over the place, right? Like that's what I always felt like. And it was because I wasn't clear on what I wanted. And I just want you to be able to throw that to the wayside and to be able to focus on what you want and to feel fulfilled and happy. And I'm not saying everything is all roses and that it's always going to go well, but I promise you that I feel fulfilled now, that I feel like I know what I'm doing and why, and I can always check back in to recenter myself around all the principles and things that I've learned. So I want that for you. Go check it out, prioritizewithpurpose.com, and I will see you right back here next week to talk about focusing on what truly matters. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, Mama. If so, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and then hit share and send this to a mom who needs this in her day. I'll meet you right back here next week. Keep smiling, y'all.